So I am 36 years old and I have a major problem. And my problem is this. I am a huge Lions fan. That's a problem because in 36 years, as you know, if you've ever watched the Lions, you would know they've never won anything. So I'm going to devise an experiment this year and pose a question that hopefully will turn the Lions championship quest upside down. And that question is, can a fantasy football team made up of only Detroit Lions win a fantasy football championship? I figure if I can't win one in real life, hopefully I can at least win one in fantasy football. So what are some of the observations that I know about the Detroit Lions and fantasy football? As stated previously, I know that the Lions are my favorite NFL team. I know the Lions have a quarterback, a couple of running backs, multiple wide receivers, a couple of tight ends that are quality fantasy football players. And using my previous experience, I know that it'll be difficult to win during the Lions bye week. I also know that having a team consisting totally of one, having a fantasy football team of only one professional team puts a lot of eggs in one basket. So hopefully the Lions will have a good week every single week. My hypothesis is if I draft a fantasy football team of only Detroit Lions, then I will win the Fantasy League Championship. So I will conduct an experiment. On the next slide, you will see my experimental setup. On Saturday, July 20th, I conducted a fantasy football draft in a Yahoo Public Fantasy Football League. The league scoring values will be shown on the next slide. There are 10 teams in the league, and the league play is head-to-head. I will only draft Detroit Lions players. I will only pick up free agents and waiver wire players who play for the Detroit Lions as well. This experiment will last for 17 weeks, the length of the NFL regular season. As I go through this experiment week to week, I'll have to analyze the data, both qualitative and quantitative, reminding there will be qualitative data, meaning what are the facts about fantasy football that are true that impact the experiment. And there will also be quantitative data, such as how many points does my fantasy football team score this week? Does my team get a win or a loss? And we can chart and graph these different things. The first thing I'll analyze is the draft. Here's my team. As you can see, it consists entirely of Detroit Lions football players. I took Calvin Johnson in the first round. I took Matthew Stafford in the second round. I took Reggie Bush in the third round. Joique Bell in the fourth round. Golden Tate in the fifth round, and so on and so forth to fill my team. As you can see, I only have a team consisting of Detroit Lions football players. Here are the other teams in the league. As you could, the one thing that you could see is there's a couple of things. Number one is that there are no Lions on any other team. I got them all. Yeah. The second thing that you will notice is that all the other teams in the league are significantly more diverse than my team is. So as you can see, results from the first week are surprising. I won with a score of 102.14 points. I played a guy named John, and his team scored 77.02 points. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, as you could see here, I'm 1-0. I've got a win percentage of 1,000. There's the point differential. I am waiver 10, which means I would have the last ability to pick up any players this week. And I have made 2 moves. My 2 moves are I just attempted to pick up Joseph Fourier, and I also attempted to pick up Jeremy Ross. They will be replacing Chris Durham and who else? Oh, and Mikel DeShore, who are cut by the Lions. So week 1, success, 1-0. So week 2 results are a little more as anticipated. My team lost by a score of 85.42 to 49.14. The Lions lost 24-7 in their game to the Carolina Panthers, and they only scored 1 touchdown. So when the Lions do not have a strong output offensively, my fantasy football team is obviously going to struggle. You could see here that I am now in 8th place, carrying a 1-1 record. All right, here are the reported results for week 3. I lost 129.20 to 61.64. My team is currently in 10th place out of 10 teams, a record of 1-2. We've only scored 212.92 points and versus giving up 291.44. So overall record 1-2. All right, week 4 results. Another loss, 66.80 to 66.12. Those are incredibly low scores. My team is currently sitting in last place with a 1-3 record. And note here that we've only scored 279 points. That's 50 points less than the team that's in 9th. That doesn't bode particularly well for our future chances, but we'll keep playing. All right, well, week 6 was a victory, 78.00 to 75.16. Week 7, tough one, 83.82 to 82.76. My team lost. Now, this one's a little deceiving. There was opportunity for my team here. Smash Mouth Jim did not set his lineup in multiple positions. So unfortunately, there was an opportunity for me to make some points and to get a victory there, but my team was not able to do so. Took on the first place team today, Coyle's Dream Team by Rob. And as you could see, 133.86 to 70.50. Coyle's team is the number 1 team in the league, and his team is very strong. So there you go. Those are my results. I knew that week 9 coming in was going to be a bit of a struggle due to the fact that it was the Lions' bye week. Missed opportunity here, though, as in Chip We Trust, or Graham's team, only scored 37.6 points. He didn't even set his lineup. He set a couple of players and went forward because he knew that my entire team was on a bye and that I was going to get a 0. So tough to win in fantasy football on a bye week. Lesson learned. All right, and here's week 10 results. And a loss, 103.44 to 58.10. The loss of Calvin Johnson and Reggie Bush has really impacted my fantasy team over the last few weeks. And let's go ahead and give you an update on the current standings. Currently, my team is 3-7, 9th place, as you could see. 625.14 points are scored by me, and I've given up 848.36 points. Week 11 here, and Week 11 was another loss, 87.32 to 44.92. Lions offense really struggled this weekend, only scored 1 offensive touchdown. Thus, it's difficult for my team to score a lot of points. You can see here that I am currently in 9th place, and I have a 3-8 record. 670 points for, 935.68. If you take a look around, I mean, I have 670 points, but the top teams all have over 1,000. So there's a significant discrepancy. And you can kind of see that my wins might have been sort of a fluke because if you look here, 903, a guy has less wins than I do, but he scored, 230 more points than I have. So 12 weeks in, and you could see down here, I'm in last place with a 3-9 record. Lost to Dustin's team this week, 76.52 to 53.46. Been a bit of a struggle. I've only scored 723.52 points on the season, which you could see as compared to the rest of these guys here is significantly less. So that's causing me to lose a lot of games. This week is Thanksgiving week, so we'll see if the Lions can play well in Week 13. All right, Week 13 got a big win, 108.50 to 60.56. Still leaves me in tough shape, but I'm not in last anymore. I'm in 9th place here, 4-9 record, 832 for me, 1,072.76 for my opponents. Next week would be, so this will be the last week of the regular season, Week 14, and then there are 2 weeks of playoffs hereafter. So Week 14 results here. My team was successful this week, 100.74 to 62.60. Unfortunately, what happened, though, is the outcome here is my team ended up, as you could see, in 9th place. And so the top 8 teams made the playoffs. Numbers 9 and 10 did not. As such, with a 5-9 record, my season has come to an end. So I ended up 5-9. And 932.76 points for. I gave up 1,135.36. After we conduct an experiment, we analyzed the data. All right, quick analysis of the data. The experiment ended up spanning 14 weeks. It was a little premature. I expected to go longer, but I finished the season with a 5-9 record. My team accumulated 932.76 points during that time span, but my opponents totaled 1,135.36 points. I finished in 9th place in the league standings, and therefore I missed qualifying for the 18 playoff by 1 win. And in our scientific method, the next thing we should ask ourselves is how will we modify our experiment? So how would I modify my experiment? I would modify my experiment, if I was going to do that, I would choose a different team, such as the Denver Broncos or the New England Patriots, a team that had a more explosive offense. Another possible means of modification would be to pick 2 or 3 teams and form a mixed team composed of players from just those teams. Lastly, I could run the experiment using a traditional fantasy football team format consisting of players representing all 32 NFL franchises. And lastly, let's write a conclusion. Remember, in a good conclusion, we either accept or reject our hypothesis, and we provide data and reasonings and rationales for these conclusions. So in conclusion for my experiment, I reject my hypothesis that a fantasy football team consisting of players from one team could win a fantasy championship. There are just too many challenges and obstacles to overcome. These include bye weeks, natural ups and downs of offensive performance in a competitive league such as the NFL, and placing too much emphasis on the scoring abilities of one particular team. In this case, the Detroit Lions. Lastly, choosing a fantasy football team based on favorites, my favorite team being the Lions, versus raw scoring data is just a poor mechanism for building a successful fantasy football team regardless of sport. But I enjoyed my experiment.